Yo, 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 yo. What is up, my people? How are y'all doing tonight? Yo, greetings, greetings, greetings. What up, Mark Moore in the building? What up, Susie Q? Good to see y'all this evening. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, so this was pretty impromptu for me. I just kind of, like everybody else, has been caught up in this tornado of the news of Diddy getting charged and all that stuff that has come out since then. So I was like, man, let me just hop on and let's kind of check out some of these things, together and see where we're at. Talk about the situation. It's definitely one of those huge, kind of cultural moments that are, rare and spark a lot of conversations about various different things. And we, even as Christians, have a lot to look at in this story and see what is going on in the world. So, greetings and welcome to See Things Above TV. I'm your host, Lou Ciccone. And today we are going to take a look at this situation right here with Diddy. And we're going to start off with this video right here where we're being brought up to speed with the current situation, which is his bail being denied. So let's hop right into that. If y'all like content like this, y'all know what to do. Like, share, and subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications. Let's play this content and then we'll go on from there.
Hey, I'm Hallie, and tonight we are learning in just the last few minutes that a federal judge is now refusing to grant Sean Diddy Combs bail. Instead, he's going straight to jail tonight after Diddy pleaded not guilty to charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. Want to show you some of these brand new court sketches coming into us, like literally in the last 90 seconds. This is Combs in court after prosecutors arrested him at a hotel in Manhattan. It's where he's apparently been living for weeks, according to what a person familiar with the move tells NBC News. All of it a tipping point now in that sprawling federal investigation into the superstar's alleged years of sex crimes dating back to 2009. As we're just getting in some new and deeply disturbing details about the allegations against him and what looks like a massive criminal operation, allegedly. At least 50 victims and witnesses so far. And at the center of it, these hours and days-long sex acts known as, in their words, freak-offs that Combs supposedly orchestrated to abuse his victims.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them.
Prosecutors say Combs punched and kicked his victims to try to keep them under control. He'd also, they say, fill them up with drugs like ketamine and ecstasy for long periods of times, even using incriminating records to try to manipulate his victims. Prosecutors say they discovered this wide range of evidence against Combs in several raids.
All right, so let's hop in there, man. So, first of all, I mean, these charges are like straight out of just a horrible, like, mob movie or something, right? It's just unbelievable, the stuff that you're hearing about. And it's beyond mob. It's like some real sick, demented, evil, rated R, crazy stuff that is going on, and that he's been charged with right now. And those raids that we saw earlier in the year were definitely significant, man, because it seems like a lot of this evidence was compiled during that time. Of course, there's, the case was ongoing. There was more that they don't just do stuff without doing stuff, right? They won't deploy the resources that they deployed for those raids without having probable cause or without at least believing that they're going to find something significant to the case. And they obviously did. They obviously found stuff that was very significant. I mean, there's more details about what they found, but those were the raids that happened earlier in the year. And once we saw that, we kind of knew that there was something going on. We kind of knew that there's something about to happen. So let's carry on with the video. We'll talk a little bit more as we go along.
They found things, they say, like AR-15s, narcotics, more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricants. We should note here that an attorney for Combs says that he, I'm quoting here, will fight this with all of his energy. His team is already planning to appeal the bail ruling, meaning they will be back in court tomorrow, as Combs has, as we mentioned, pleaded not guilty. We've got team coverage. Laura Jarrett standing by with the legal analysis piece of it. But I want to start outside court with Julia Ainsley, because, Julia, this went fairly late into the day. I know you've been at the courthouse as a judge, as we've just learned, is denying this request for bail. Explain why that is and what else we've learned today.
Yeah, that's right. We were in there for about 2 hours as the Justice Department from the Southern District of New York laid out their case, very similar to what you saw in the indictment, saying why he should not be released, because they say that he is a flight risk, he could leave the country, and also that he has a history of obstructing justice. They also pointed to how serious these crimes were, that with previous allegations of sex trafficking like R. Kelly and Jeffrey Epstein, the judges also denied bail in that case. But his defense laid out a very lengthy rebuttal to all of that. We heard them say that this is different from Jeffrey Epstein and R. Kelly because there are no minors being alleged in the indictment here. They also say that these acts were consensual, and they point to victim number one, who's named over and over again, who they say is someone within a 10-year relationship with Combs that was toxic but consensual.
So victim number one is most likely Cassie in this case. Okay, so they're not naming her, but we know who they're talking about.
Said that this person actually tried to sell this same story as book rights to Combs to try to get it out of the media's eye. But instead, when he refused, then this civil lawsuit came up. But the judge ultimately said that he could not be released because he is a danger. He has a history of substance abuse and anger issues. And she really drilled down on the fact that after those civil allegations came out last November, he talked to multiple women who he knew during that period and who he apparently tried to change their narrative so they wouldn't go forward and continue testifying or being witnesses to some of these acts that were alleged in the civil complaint and then were again put in the indictment today. And so she said in order to keep that from happening and really to end sex trafficking, since that can happen behind closed doors, it was best to keep him detained without bond.
Julia, it is, I think for a lot of folks, they will find this stunning considering that Diddy, right, Sean Combs, has been previously one of the most successful music superstars in the world. Just a year ago, he was handed a key to New York City. Now here we are, after months of this being out in the public, these allegations being made public, his denials. He's potentially facing 15 years to life in prison. What is the—
All right, real quick, man. So, man, this is wild. This is really wild because, like, we're going to get into, like, how much they were suggesting for the bail, like his defense were willing to part with, and how much they actually rejected. But this whole thing is crazy. And when something is named in the same sentence as an R. Kelly trial or the Epstein trial, you have to know that this is something like it's one of those monumental cases, man, that like they are not going to play around. If they did what they did and they've gone forward and arrested him, then the 15 years that, you know, she's mentioning here, and I've heard more in other places, it's looking more and more likely that this is going to be the fate of Diddy, unless they can come up with some defense that is going to just, you know, clear the decks for him. But there's some other stuff we're going to get into on that, but it is pretty wild. Let's finish up with this video and we'll come back with the comments, man. Definitely want to hear what y'all are thinking.
What does the timeline look like here?
Well, we understand that tomorrow they'll try to appeal the judge's decision. His defense will do that tomorrow at 3:30. They'll meet again next week for a conference, and then perhaps we'll be looking at a trial early next year. But, Hallie, I have to say what you said there was also striking. I mean, I watched him today sitting there very humbly in court in a black T-shirt, nodding along with his defense, otherwise just looking very stoic, straight ahead at the judge. It's hard to imagine this is the same man, but the timeline is also staggering. It's one thing to think, oh, that was something that happened a long time ago. But the prosecution today said that these acts, what they're calling sex trafficking and coercion, all continued up until this year, Hallie, and started as far back as 2009. So this was not a brief window.
Julia Ainsley live for us there outside court in New York. Can you just give a sense really quickly, Julia, before I let you go? Is it just a scene there? I mean, I have to imagine, given who Sean Combs is, it is just a crush of cameras, a crush of people.
It is. It's been really crowded today, and there have been people who've been driving by, sometimes screaming, "Free Diddy." Someone else stood up earlier and said Tupac would be ashamed of Diddy. It's been a lot of people, a lot of public interest here. I will say the court wasn't as crowded as I thought, but still nearly full, and also full of his friends and family who came out.
Thanks for...
Wow. Hey, man. So that is where we're at with this situation so far. So bail was denied. Bail was denied, man, for Diddy. And it makes sense because it's somebody with tremendous resources. But let's read this real quick and then let's talk about this. So you had, this is the information right here. Okay, so Sean Diddy Combs has been denied bail and will remain in custody as he faces charges of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking, a federal judge ruled Tuesday. Judge Robin Tarnofsky told him her concern is this is a crime that happens behind closed doors, even when pretrial services is monitoring. Okay, so to jump down here. So this is the part that blew my mind right here. So the judge told Combs there were no conditions she could find to assure that he would appear in court if released. Combs' defense attorneys proposed to put him on home detention with a $50 million bond secured by his Miami residence, according to a bail motion earlier today. Combs did not react when the judge made her ruling. He took a sip of water from a bottle at the table before he was let out of the courtroom. So we're talking $50 million. They were willing to put $50 million down, and the judge said no. She said absolutely no, because I guess for him, that is basically a drop in the bucket. And that is crazy. That's a wild amount. That is a wild amount of money for them to just say, nah, just keep it, because we don't trust you. And yeah, a dude like him got all kinds of resources, man. So, man, what are y'all saying in the chat, man? Greetings to Keep Steady. Peace and blessings. My first time catching it live. Hey, man, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. Brother Eric, as always, good to see you, bro. Yes. Yeah, the movie Eyes Wide Shut is looking more and more like reality. Huh. Sheila Mahone, thank you. How you doing, sis? Good to see you. And Sheila also said, if the FBI getting involved, they already have the evidence they need. Yep, they 95% conviction rate. Whew, man, oh man. So to try to be that 5%, man, you have to, great lawyers, and you have to have a great case to argue, right? Buddy Boone, what up, bro? One question: what took so long to arrest him? That's a question that people have been kind of discussing, and it seems like for several years, because the chat about Diddy being, involved in some heinous crimes and just some really foul stuff has been going on for a very long time, and yet it seemed as though this dude was untouchable, and I think to some degree he probably started to feel a little bit untouchable. And this is what happens in the end, right? What is done in the dark will come to the light, right? And whether that is in this life or, before the Lord when he makes all things plain, right? So, but in this case, yes, it seems to be that it was just a slow cook. They were making their case. We're going to play something from Gene Deal, his former bodyguard, in a second. And he kind of talked about, the case being developed over time as well. Yep. Probably 90% of Hollywood are sexual freaks. Hey, listen, that's why it is called Babylon by some folk, bro. I mean, I believe that. I believe that there's some foul stuff that is going on in several circles. It just seems to be normal at this point. Brother Alton, Grace and peace to you, bro. Grace and peace. Thanks for joining. Man. So, all right. So let's go ahead. We'll come back to the chat in a second, man. Let's go ahead and let me try and cue this up for y'all. Let's hear what Gene Deal had to say. So yes, Gene Deal is a former bodyguard of Diddy, and he just had a few comments here. We're gonna listen to him for a little bit here.
You're right. Hey, Christio, what's up with y'all? So let me finish telling this to y'all. So it says the 2011. I told y'all that they've been investigating this dude for a long time. You understand? And I told y'all the 2 charges that they was going to go at him on. And then some of y'all seem disappointed because the federal government didn't mention nothing about pot. But I told y'all it was going to be the sex trafficking because you only need one person for that. And they got Cassie. And it was going to be the guns. I told y'all that already. When everybody was saying all this and this, that, and the third, I told y'all the Southern District don't play. They was going to come at him in September because of the information that I heard from somebody. And there's going to be some other charges. Drinking lemonade. No face, no case. What up with you? B-Dog, salute. Vanessa Marshall. Vanessa said, hello, everybody.
He was on his live earlier doing this.
Name me Nia. So now, anybody that's trying to tell you that they coming after Gene Deal, what I did was, and like I told y'all, that there will be other people. When I first started this stuff, I said that it won't be me. There'll be other people that gains the strength. They'll see God's plan. Y'all got to understand, you can't make a deal with the devil and think the devil going to see you right the whole time. I want to get on some niggas from Harlem. No homo, no Diddy, no pause or none of that shit. You can't make a deal with the devil and think the deal is still going to stay when God comes. I seen this man pick up a dove in the park with a priest in front of him. Threw the dove in the air and it hit the ground like it was a brick. Boom. Didn't move on everything I love. The day of Sean Wolf and his trial. On everything I love. I knew then. After he did that shit to D-Ferg, I gave him 3 days. His mother did that shit in the office. I was gone and never came back and never looked back. God ain't gonna keep on blessing me and giving me chances.
So Gene saying that he got out when it was time to get out, man. And he talks about something there, talks about Diddy throwing a dove in the air and the dove just fell down and just died flat. Now, we don't have a, crazy kind of deliverance ministry channel over here, but that's the kind of stuff where people would say straight up, like, this dude is, demon possessed, and very well could be with the level of stuff that we've seen from him. But yeah, this is the lore of Diddy. The lore of Diddy is it precedes him. It is so huge. The things that we hear about this guy, the things that he is alleged to have done, are just completely outlandish and beyond comprehension. So Alton says they probably wanted the case to build against him. Yes, yep, I agree with that for sure. Buddy makes a good point. Yep. No, I hear you. Because he is involved with a lot of people. A lot of people are named in that. Don't forget, even Prince Harry's name came up in some of those papers that they had. Of course, we know T.D. Jakes' name came up as well, amongst other people. So that's a whole other story, which we'll probably get into at some point too, because some of these folks must be trembling in their boots right now. They must be shaking in their boots, wondering when their names are going to pop up in the news if they haven't popped up, or if they were involved in any of this stuff, man, and there happens to be a recording of them. And worse still, if there's a recording of them and they were present when some of these things were going on, some of the more physical abuse and things like that were going on, and these guys didn't do anything, they're people, you can bet they're people who are shaking in their boots right now. And yeah, only time will tell. Absolutely. The feds do not come only when they have to, right? They're not going to come until they have to. Eric says that reminds me of when the Pope released a dove and it was attacked by another bird, quite symbolic. Yeah. That's is that the current Pope? Because I'm not surprised if it's the current Pope. That's really not surprising at all. That is not surprising at all. So now there's a clip I saw here where we have somebody from CNN kind of talking about poking a few holes in the case, though, man. So this is a bit of an interesting clip right here. Let's check this out real quick.
Walking out this door, he is in federal custody where he will be unless his lawyers are able to convince a different judge to release.
Let's adjust that speed for y'all. All right. That should be good.
Let's bring in criminal defense attorney Stacey Schneider. And Stacey, you say today's indictment reads like a mob indictment. What was most shocking to you of all these allegations?
Yeah, the fact, Jake, that the government in this indictment presented evidence alleging that Sean Combs was running a criminal enterprise, and they actually named it in the indictment, the Combs Enterprise. And they said that this enterprise consisted of him as the alleged leader, his employees, assistants, staff, allegedly, that were able to procure women and alleged male sex workers to engage in performances for his own sexual gratification. Where it differs from a mob indictment, it has all the elements of putting together this racketeering allegation of all these moving pieces using resources from his businesses. But the fact that this is about an allegation of sexual gratification being accomplished by alleged human trafficking, it's one of the most unique indictments I've ever seen in this area, in the area of sex crimes, because the government isn't actually prosecuting the sex crimes other than the human trafficking or the sex trafficking. They're not prosecuting any type of alleged sexual abuse to women, although that's part of this racketeering scheme. But the actual charges are racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transporting individuals over state lines to engage in prostitution. The reasoning around all of this, his alleged motivation as presented in that indictment by the government is for his own personal gratification. And that's just the strangest type of indictment I've ever seen. But I agree with you. This indictment it's very disturbing. The facts presented are out of, a very bad Hollywood story. And a lot of the evidence, alleged evidence, that's been gathered in this case was from those two raids that were conducted on his personal homes in Miami and Los Angeles. And the indictment names the things seized that he allegedly made videos of these sexual performances that have been named freak-offs. And there seems to be a ton of evidence allegedly tying this scheme together. So it's an interesting way of prosecuting it. But
yeah, before we get too far, man. So you notice she said that it's strange because it seems that everything that he was doing was for his own gratification. Okay, so it was for his own gratification. And that is a fundamental difference when you're dealing with a case where somebody is doing something, and usually where there's trafficking involved, right? It's so that people would make money out of it. Okay, they're trafficking people so that they can make money out of it. But this is simply somebody doing, these, allegedly trafficking people and bringing them to these situations so that he can watch and just enjoy whatever it is, this wicked stuff happening, and just be a spectator for the most part of whatever is happening, and maybe obviously participating, I'm sure, to some level. But that is very interesting that's something that can be missed in that. Is that, okay, you're not dealing with a case of somebody making money off this stuff. You're just dealing with a case of somebody being very perverted and sick in the head and enjoying this stuff happening around them, and they're willing to go to great lengths to make these things happen. So I thought that was something that can be missed as we move forward. But let's listen to her speak a little bit more.
I understand why they did it that way.
So what did you make of what Elizabeth Wagmeister just reported? And obviously, Sean Diddy Combs and his attorneys are going to get their day in court. But the idea that the government, in their characterization, does not say that anybody did any of these things non-consensually. What do you make of that?
I make of that as being a big flaw already in the government's case, which the defense was quick to point out. Even if he was engaging in this alleged conduct, there was no allegation or no statement in that indictment saying that any of these alleged victims or alleged witnesses willingly participated in some of these acts that people find offensive, that are sound to be offensive. And that's a very important part of the case. What was the consent? But there are enough charges here where outside of what the alleged victims are going to say about how he was using the resources allegedly from his enterprises, his businesses, his well-known Bad Boy Entertainment, his clothing line resources, his liquor line resources. Allegedly, there were funds used from that resources to engage in this alleged prostitution activity across state lines. And that's why it's a federal case, because it's across straight lines. So there are some problems that the defense has brought up originally, but it seems like, just from reading this 14-page indictment, that there is enough physical evidence to perhaps get a conviction in this case. We shall see. These are allegations.
So,
all right. So that's this lady right here breaking that down for us, and kind of showing the aspect of, perhaps not everything is super airtight from the prosecution side of things. But as we've noted before, earlier, we've already, mentioned this, man, that the FBI is not just going to go ahead and do stuff if they don't think that they're going to get a conviction, and that there should be ample evidence outside of the things that she's mentioning to still charge him and get a conviction out of this. So, man, this is just a crazy time. It's a crazy time. It just seems like when the prophet Cat Williams said,
all lies will be exposed. That's all.
It seemed like he was spot on when he started the year with that, because we are just seeing an uncovering, almost like an unprecedented uncovering of an exposing of things. And this is now Diddy's time to be exposed. And it seems that we've arrived at this moment where he cannot escape these charges. He has to face the court and fight for his freedom. And we're going to see what happens next. Sister Brenda, thank you for joining us. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Always a joy. Yep. So what were y'all's initial reactions when you heard this? Let me know your initial thoughts when you heard this. When did you hear about it? I heard about this last night before going to bed, and I was like, man, today is going to be crazy, and it has been crazy, like all over, whether it's a YouTube feed or it's, X, whatever it is just like you can't escape this story, and this is what people are going to be talking about for a minute until it comes to, its resolution. So definitely let me know your thoughts on that, man. Let me know what y'all have been thinking as you viewed this. I see Buddy coming with the jokes. His first name was Puffy. He had the name from, oh man. Is that where it came from? The source was from the streets of NY back in the day. Is that for real? I don't know if that's where the name came from, man. Come on, man. Come on. Yeah. I mean, it's been a hot mess. The whole thing has been a complete and utter hot mess. But we'll be here to kind of follow through and report and see what happens as more information is released to us. Bradley, brother Brad, what is good, man? Shout out to brother Brad in the building. Good to see you. Cat said CG. Yeah, he did say CG Jakes. He did say CG Jakes. Yep, he did. But he's, that's the person who I think from the faith community at the moment, that's the person who we all kind of are thinking about in the back of our minds and saying, hey, I wonder what he's thinking at this moment. And I wonder if something's going to happen where his name, gets brought up in a even more unfavorable situation and he has to explain something publicly or in a court or has his own day in court. Like, that would be nuts, man. I actually really just don't wish that for him. But I do hope, man, that Christians who have been, supporting Diddy or just lifting him up and just acting as though this guy is, just the best thing since sliced bread and he's done so much for the community and yada, 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 and all these kind of things. And then those people who've affiliated with him just to, for the sake of financial gain. I hope anybody who has done that is right now just repenting and recognizing the folly and the foolishness and all that, man. I mean, we even had guys like Lecrae volunteering the information that he went to Diddy parties. And with what we have heard here, you can't help but wonder why somebody who is a Christian would be going to these Diddy parties, right? Would actually even go there in the first place. And then after experiencing some crazy stuff, to continue to go to Hollywood parties. So there is just this air of compromise, this a plague of compromising that we see in popular Christianity. And we see it manifest when we see people who have no business really, like you just should not be affiliating with him. I'm not saying you can't be a friend of his, but not affiliating with him in terms of business or anything like that, because of, who he is. But people found a way to do so and to justify it. And so, yeah, that's definitely being exposed right now. Eric said with TD Snakes, his followers will stick by him, though. They will say the devil is attacking the man of God. And that is very, very likely that if some stuff comes down the pipelines, we're going to see that that's the reaction, right? It's going to be the reaction. And then everybody who's mentioning it are all evil people who are just judging him, and we should just keep our mouths off of him. Touch not the anointed, right? That's going to be the response from followers of guys like TD Jakes in situations like this. But man, crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. But yeah, man, this was a quick one, y'all. This was definitely a quick one. I just wanted to hop on, share some of these clips right here, share some thoughts on it. We'll definitely speak some more about it as the more information unfolds. This is a crazy situation. And yeah, just one of those moments, man. One of those moments where we're witnessing a case that is going to be talked about for a very, very long time. But with that being said, man, let me know y'all's thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We will be back later in the week with some more videos, and I'll be live again later in the week. Might be on Friday. Not sure. Thursday or Friday. We'll figure it out. But I'm looking forward to getting together with y'all again. with that being said, y'all have a wonderful evening. And if then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. All right. God bless y'all, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Good night. Peace, peace, peace.